study shows that women are 32% more likely to experience burnout than men. And that is because of all the different roles that we play, especially if you are not only a high executive, but you're also a mom. You're also a wife. You're also a daughter. There's so many things that we have to do. That's why women are experiencing burned out and stress. Don't let your fear stop you. Don't let what other people think about you stop you from making those big decisions. We only have one life and we gotta make it our best.
Today on PS I Love Me, we have breathwork and feminine energy coach, Steph Cabrera. Her mission is to help women reconnect with their body, embrace their inner power, and lead lives filled with confidence and purpose.
Your energy is your power. When you understand it and you know how to use it, you know where to direct it. Where your attention goes, energy flows. If your attention and your energy is placed in the wrong places, then that's how you're going to feel.
So let's dive in. What was your aha moment when you were in the corporate world and when you thought, I really need to switch gears and help women in a more deep and meaningful way?
There are so many signals. There were so many times that I was ready to leave the job that I had, but I wasn't aware. I wasn't in tune with my body. But I think what really made it for me, I remember this moment so vividly. I was driving to work and I had my hands in my steering wheel and I got to the office, same parking spot, and got to my office, sat down and opened my emails, and all these feelings began to happen of like, oh my gosh, I feel like I'm living an autopilot, driving the same way, the same routine, the same everything every day. I just felt like, and the same feelings of feeling overwhelmed and stressed and not happy my body was sort of like, I felt itchy and I felt like a warm feeling in my body. Was like, my body did not know how to communicate anymore that I wasn't where I was supposed to be. And that was my aha moment. I was like, okay, something is not aligned here. Something needs to change, because from the moment that I woke up that morning, my body could not take it anymore. I was on autopilot, basically just living life, not really happy, just kind of taking it day by day and not, I know that there was so much potential and so much within me that I wanted to share. And I wasn't meant to be where I was in a job that, not because it was corporate, but it was because it was something that it had nothing to do with what I really wanted to do in my life. I was doing mortgages for a really big bank in Canada. That's not like me at all.
And it's funny how sensations show up in our body. Those semantic sensations that we tend to ignore and push down. And what sort of feelings and sensations were coming up for you?
What happens is that we become so disconnected with our bodies. We have been conditioned to be logical, to stay here all the time. And so we disconnect from that deep knowing and intuition that we hold within ourselves, in our gut, which we will get into in a little bit. For me, I felt it in my belly. There was this, when you feel like, everyone feels it, a gut feeling, but it felt like I had a knot in my body and I was sweating a lot. And it was just, my body was also a tingling sensation in my hands. So this is in that day that I was talking about. It was happening more intensely, but it was happening throughout every day when I knew that something wasn't aligned within me. So when we become so disconnected from the language of our bodies, it's almost like we don't speak the same language, right? And we're just, again, on autopilot. And so some of those body sensations that a woman in a corporate job could experience is numbness. You feel numb. You feel unmotivated. You feel like you don't really fit in places. The body just speaks physically, emotionally, and mentally. So your mental fog, you're not thinking the same, you're not feeling the same way, and mood swings happen. And all of that is linked to hormonal balance.
And that's right, because I've done quite a lot of studying in how our head, heart, and gut brains and how to powerfully align them. Because if you do some self-awareness studies on yourself, as you were saying, alpha females in the corporate world are very very head-led. And it's really syncing all those different brains, whether it's called gut brain or gut intuition, to really understand what's coming up for us and make powerful decisions that really empower us and bring out the best in us.
Yeah. So our gut is our second brain. We hear a lot, but what does that really mean? It means that we have over 500 million neurons in our guts that direct our everyday emotions and feeling and decision making. So when we talk about gut, we're talking about a brain that is so important for us to nourish, not only by food, but emotions and doing things like breath work and meditation and movement. So yes, to align your mind with your body, it's important to have a really good connection with your gut. And that starts from the outside in. So we start paying attention to our environment, paying attention to what we consume, not just like our food that we consume, but also what we listen to, who we hang out with. And then we get into the more somatic experiences, where is the movement, yoga or exercising. And then we get into the breath work, which stops into regulating our nervous system, which can then regulate our emotions.
And I love breathwork. We were just talking about that before we press record. It's one of the easiest and most simplest things to do to really calm your parasympathetic nervous system down, and also be in the present, be aware, and calm that anxiety or nervousness down.
Yeah. So breathwork is a powerful yet a very simple tool that we all have, and we don't know how to use it. But the thing is that we overcomplicate the concept of breathwork, and I like to simplify things. I like to keep things simple, which means that breathwork is simply just practicing a few 1 or 2 breathing techniques every day that can help you regulate your nervous system in the morning and at night. 10 to 15 minutes. That's all you need. You don't need to sit down for half an hour to 45 minutes like a monk, because the reality is that we live busy lives. But if you do have a busy life, you need more time into those moments of silence. So breathwork, when we were talking about those aha moments, I've had a few of those since I started doing breathwork. My aha moment with breathwork was when I was at a Lululemon event. And there was a massive breathwork experience with Richie. And that was my first breathwork journey. I was with my partner, and I never tried breathwork before other than practicing yoga. I used to teach yoga as well. And let's honor the practice of pranayama, by the way. Pranayama is one of the limbs of yoga, which is where breathwork came from. Breathwork is more of a contemporary term, and there are more methods and traditions of breathwork that have been created, but pranayama is the initial one, right? Like we have to honor that. So I used to practice that, but when I experienced conscious connected practice in this, my first journey, I had a out-of-body experience. I don't know. I still can't put it into words. And I know when my clients, my students come to me after a session, they're like, I don't know how to explain it. I'm like, I know what you're feeling. So when I had that aha moment, I was like, what is this? I need to learn it. I need to practice it. That was the moment when my life completely began to change. That was when I think it was a year before the pandemic, but that was something clicked within me. I started practicing breathwork every day. Then the pandemic happened. I lost my job, and that was a blessing in disguise. I started taking my training. I came out of lockdown and I started teaching, and my life began to transform mentally, physically, emotionally, and everything around me, because when I started practicing breathwork, I began to notice. And I want everyone who's listening to pay attention to this. When you begin to make a connection with your breath, okay, when you pay attention to how you breathe in different moments, whether they're difficult moments, happy moments, just notice the way that you're breathing, because it tells you so much about your mental state. And it also tells you about your behaviors, your patterns of thinking and acting, things that are repetitive. And also tells you so much about your energy, other people's energy. So you begin to tune into your body so much more that intelligence, that innate intelligence that we all possess, you begin to tap into that magic. And sometimes, this is going to sound a little witchy, you sort of predict the future, not because you know what's going to happen, but because you feel it energetically. And that all starts with just learning how to connect with your breath, because you regulate your nervous system. So you were mentioning about nervous system regulation. So the nervous system, I always talk about it as your electrical panel, right? And this electrical panel is, because we are doing so much, and especially for women who have stressful jobs, which, by the way, we as women are incredible. We do so much. We wear so many different hats and so many different roles in living up to the expectations of society. We are tired. We're exhausted. We're burned out. We're trying so hard to prove ourselves in a society that doesn't work with us, that constantly tell us that we're not enough, or that we have to, we don't have equal opportunities. Our nervous system is so dysregulated. So the two main branches of the nervous system, we have the parasympathetic nervous system and the sympathetic nervous system. Everyone probably already heard about this. But what does it mean? Your sympathetic nervous system is your fight or flight responses. Your natural rhythm, the natural biology of your body is to respond to situations normally without you knowing. And your sympathetic responses come in when your body is in danger, when you're in danger, when something is happening and you need to react, right? And then the other branch of your nervous system, which is the parasympathetic nervous system responses, is your rest, digest, restore, and relax, which is supposed to kick in when you are ready to fall asleep, when you're enjoying a meal, when you are doing something that doesn't require you to be in alert. But what's happening is that because of the type of lifestyle that we live, we're constantly on autopilot, like I was saying, doing so much. We have suppressed the part of our nervous system that is supposed to kick in when we want to relax. So we are now on an overdrive of fight or flight, which means that we are constantly feeling like our house is on fire.
Yeah, and it's that adrenal glands are sky high as well, which is not good for our health.
Exactly. So, and when you do breath work, this activates your digestion, which, by the way, also 95% of the body's serotonin is produced in the gut.
Isn't that fascinating? And people don't realize that. So those happy hormones are produced in the gut.
And how can you nourish this energy? How can you improve your gut? Physically, with having a healthy diet. It's something really interesting I heard yesterday. It was, I think it was a TikTok video, TikTok University. They were saying how when someone begins to eat healthy, they call it a diet. But since when did eating well and a wholesome food became a diet? That we are so used to eating, bad, unhealthy food that when you actually eat healthy, it's considered a diet.
Yeah, it's a lifestyle. It's a way of living, not a diet. And for any changes to be made long term, it needs to be our day to day.
Yeah, exactly. So yeah, going back to, paying attention to your nervous system, to your electrical panel, the way that your body speaks to you is always when you close your eyes and you go inwards. That's it. Sit down. You don't have to be meditating or knowing how to meditate or knowing how to do breath work. You can start by simply creating moments of silence.
And I think a lot of people are stressed at the thought of doing that. Oh, well, I'm just not one of those people who can sit still or meditate. And they put all this pressure on themselves. I don't have time. I'm not that type of person. I don't have time to put my yoga mat out and be cross-legged in the morning burning my incense. But it's far from that. You can do breath work anywhere, right? You can do it when you're driving, when you're waiting for your bus, when you're out on a walk. It's literally accessible at any time of the day.
Exactly. Anytime, anywhere. You can do it in the car. You can do it driving. I do it in the tube because the reality is that we live in a city, London, which is very busy. And I don't know if anybody can relate to this, but sometimes I am just having a great day and I feel fine. And then I go into the tube and I can notice, but because I'm so in tune with my body and my energy, I notice this shift of energy that happens within me. My belly begins to turn. I begin to sweat. And I'm just like, okay, I was just fine a minute ago. What's happening now? What's happening is that the vibration and the energy of the tube, it's not pleasant, right? Everyone is just there. They're tired. It's cramped in there. It's if it's in the summer, it's hot. It's not the best environment. So when you notice that your body is picking up on all these signals around you, just close your eyes. And that's what I do. I try not to take deep breaths down there, but I just try to observe my breath and just go inwards and create that peace within me rather than going on my phone, because that's crazy. You look around and everyone is on their phones, and I am guilty of it too, because sometimes you're like, oh, I want to get work done while I'm on the tube. But it's just noticing in those moments where your body is speaking to you. When we feel anxious, the first thing that you notice is your body speaks to you. People go into here, it's like, why am I feeling anxious? Was it someone said? Was it because I have so much to do? But in reality, is your body starts to speak to you by doing all, tingling sensation, the heart, the breath is short. And that is your body saying, something has changed here. There is a shift of energy. What can we do? Instead of going into analyzing and overthinking, what did I do? What did I do? Let's just take a deep breath, step back, and change the environment and try to do something that nourishes your own energy, which is like, I like to place my hands on my chest. I like to do tapping, EFT tapping, which is like we stimulate different meridian points throughout the whole body. I stick with one. I do one in my chest whenever I'm feeling anxious. So there's a lot of different somatic practices and things that you can do to help you calm your nervous system along with the breath.
And it's really looking at what's coming up for me right now and having that healthy inner chat and that kind voice where you're exploring, okay, why am I feeling anxious or tight-chested, or my stomach, I've got this huge knot down there, like what's going on there? And really exploring and being curious with those somatic feelings that are coming up. And quite often, once you take something and have a good look at it, you're like, okay, this is why this is coming up, understanding it, feeling it, processing it through breath work, through some of the other techniques that you were discussing. And that's the healthiest way of processing feelings, whether they're good or bad, that come up throughout the day in our lives.
Yeah, I think that we just forget that we're human beings and we are in this earth sort of experiencing life. And everyone has problems. Everyone has different challenges in life. And I think we need to learn to be more kind to ourselves and to understand that, sometimes it might be easier for some people to say that because they might have not experienced really hardship and traumatic experiences in their life, which is really hard to work through those things. But I think when you approach things with an open mind, curiosity, and with self-compassion, you can actually achieve so much. And just remembering that like emotions are energy in motion. And I recently did I was filming for a brand, a breathwork class, and I just kept saying energy, energy, energy. And at some point I said, we should make a game out of this, because I just keep saying energy all the time, because everything in this world is made of energy. And when we understand how to nourish, how to direct, and how to use this energy, you can be so powerful. One of my favorite phrases is, your energy is your power. When you understand it and you know how to use it, you know where to direct it. When your energy is scattered, it diminishes, and it's where your attention goes, energy flows. If your attention and your energy is placed in the wrong places, then that's how you're going to feel. So yeah, where attention goes, energy flows there, right? So we choose sometimes to focus on the negative, to go into this vicious cycle of we're constantly focusing on the same things. I am a diehard fan of Dr. Joe Dispenza. And one of my favorite books is Becoming Supernatural and Breaking the Habit of Being Yourself. Two really powerful books because he uses like neuroscience to explain what happens to us. It's not about positive thinking. It's about rewiring your brain, being an architecture of your mind where if you want to change, you have to change the way that you speak to yourself. Thoughts are energy. but your words have energy. So yeah, Dr. Joe Dispenza, please, if you haven't explored his world, it's amazing. I was listening to some of his words in the morning. I love listening to him because it's a reminder you are in power of your life. Your energy is everything. Your words are incredibly powerful to your everyday and what you do. If you want to break out of those vicious cycles of who you are, you need to start doing things differently to rewire your brain.
Well, you're right. It's a lot to do with mindset as well, and what we think we become is another good saying is, and it all starts from up here and changing how we think, our daily habits, and that can take quite a bit of practice and willpower to nix those limiting beliefs and unhelpful thinking day in, day out. And how do you work with women throughout your coaching? Is it one-on-ones and workshops?
So I do workshops, I do one-to-one and retreats, and I'm now venturing out into doing panel talks, which I'm really passionate about because we can bring experts to the panel talks and talk about like women's health and everything that embarks in that, which is women's health. Interestingly enough, it's very understudied and misunderstood, and we need to spend more time understanding our bodies, the female nervous system, and our hormonal bodies and everything that happens to us, our menstrual cycle, which is what I focus on when I work with my clients. So talking about menstrual cycle, which is, I don't want to make any women listening to the podcast or watching us to feel that because you don't know anything about your menstrual cycle, it makes you less or you feel bad about yourself. Take that out and throw it out the window, okay? Because I was 32 when I started learning about my menstrual cycle, and I'm 37 now. So when you learn to connect with your body, the biggest and the best thing that you can do is to start tracking your menstrual cycle. And if you're someone who's been on a contraception, maybe talk to your gynecologist and see what you can do to maybe try to get off of it. And the reason why I encourage women to do this, unless they are experiencing some sort of, other medical conditions, I don't recommend that. But because when you're on the pill, you're sort of numb. And you don't get to experience all of the beautiful and hard things that happen to women through our menstrual cycle. And when we talk about high achiever women who are in the corporate world, who are really busy, we become, or not me anymore, but they become so disconnected with their womb and their menstrual cycle that every day becomes a battle because you're fighting against your hormones and the different changes that your body is going through. You're fighting against the natural rhythm of your body.
So what can we do to work with our menstrual cycle? Because it's not quite as easy as, well, I'm only going to do these activities on these days. The corporate world doesn't allow for that. We can't say to all our colleagues and the CEO of a multinational, hey, I'm not doing that because I'm ovulating then and I need to do my creative work. How do we embrace that in a relatable and an easy way?
Yeah, so the reality is that you can't just be like, oh, I'm on my period, I need a day off, which I think some companies are starting to do that, a day off for women when they're on their period. So the reality is that we have to work with our cycle. The first thing that you need to do, if you haven't already, is to download an app that can help you track your menstrual cycle. And when we talk about menstrual cycle, I want to clarify that the menstrual cycle is the entirety of your cycle, from the first day you bleed to the next day of your first cycle, of your period. So day one to day one. And these are 4 different phases, right? And I'm not going to get too much into every single one of them, but understanding and downloading an app that can help you know where you are in your cycle can help you make better decisions and can help you be more gentle with yourself. So obviously, if you are someone who is in a corporate work and world and you have to make big decisions, you can just be like, I'm feeling really emotional today, so I'm not going to do that. I can't really do that. But you can actually go into your app and notice where you are. Okay, I am entering my luteal phase, which means that energies are low, decision-making, mental clarity is not all there. You can actually go into connecting with your breath. So doing breath work. tapping into your vagus nerve stimulation to get your body to relax and just letting go of any emotions that are building up. So obviously you can't just take the day off, or you can't say I can't make decisions, but you can work with tools like breathwork, with very simple yet very powerful, to help you regulate your emotions and work with your cycle, not against it.
I agree. And again, it comes down to awareness and understanding what's happening in our body and being kind to ourselves. At some points in our menstrual cycle, we get brain fog if we're stood up on stage and suddenly we have a blank and it's not beating yourself up afterwards. It's like, it's okay. It's my body. It's that time of the month or whatever. It's just being aware of what's happening inside of us and being kind to ourselves.
Yes. So I do something called an activation list. I've made up this thing called an activation list, which is a list that I go to. I just simply put it on my notes on my phone. And this is a list of things that I do that make me feel good, so that I refer to when I'm not feeling my best. So I go into this list, and the first thing that's on there is breath work. But what kind of breath work? What kind of breathing technique? For me, it's breath of fire. Breath of fire is one of those pranayamas that is well known because we practice it in yoga, but it's so powerful because it taps into your fire, which is in your gut. You stimulate your abdominal muscles in and out, and then you do this very forced and fast breathing technique that can tap into your sympathetic nervous system responses to give you more energy. So that's the top of my activation list. The second thing that I have on my activation list is dancing. I love dancing. So I play music and instantly my mood changes. So it doesn't have to be something brand and crazy to shift to where you are and where you want to be. Creating an activation list, breath work, seed cycling. Seed cycling, which is like eating different type of seeds depending on which phase of your cycle you're at, because some seed can boost your progesterone, some other ones can boost your estrogens. So look into that so you can practice that as well. Another thing, obviously, eating food in alignment with your menstrual phases. So for example, when we are on the luteal phase, your body craves more of like fat, like good fats. So things like that to understand as well. Obviously, always going back to breath work. That's the key for the end of our reading.
Well, it brings us to our senses, doesn't it? And it brings us into the present. And I agree. It's whatever activates our senses. So music, as you were talking about, is our hearing sense. The smell also brings us to our senses. So smelling some aromatherapy oils. Touch, whether it's massaging a nice oil or having your partner rub you, or feeling the sea air or the breeze on your skin, brings you to your senses because you're in that moment, and it brings you out of that being in that past, being in the present, being in that doing mode into the being mode, and into that more feminine energy, which we'll get onto in a sec. And when you're running these retreats and workshops, aside to the disconnection that many high-achieving women face with their mind and bodies, what else are you noticing? What other themes are coming up in your workshops and your one-on-ones?
So obviously chronic stress and burnout. Studies shows that women are 32% more likely to experience burnout than men. And that is because of all the different roles that we play. So especially if you are not only a high executive, but you're also a mom, you're also a wife, you're also a daughter, you also do so many other things. Like there's so many things that we have to do that's why women are experiencing burned out and stress. Obviously we talked about disconnection from mind and body. So we are just living in our minds and not tapping into that deep intuition and knowing. I always call it this magical and whimsical power. And it sounds, again, witchy, but it is true. Us as women, we hold this incredible magic within us. And when we learn how to tap into this magic, which is by connecting with our feminine energy, we can transform our lives, because we can actually, everyone, even men as well, they have a feminine energy, but obviously in us, we have it more. But we are able to go into our masculine energy, back into our feminine, go back and forth when needed. But because we are in a corporate world, some women are in that world, they are more into the masculine energy, which is the go-getter, doing, acting, which is great. It's amazing, because this is why some women are so successful. Most women are so successful because they are able to tap into the masculine energy, which then they become so independent that they forget that in that feminine energy, we create connection and community and a support system, which comes from having a group of women. I love getting together with my girlfriends, because when I do, we talked about, what are you going through? What are you feeling? How was your week? What are your challenges? And one of my friends just became a first time mom, and she's sharing how she's feeling. And then we also get to talk about like what our husbands are not doing or doing and not complaining about it, but more of like a support, like, I understand you. I get it. I know I've been through that. So if we don't have that, because we become so independent and so hard onto that masculine energy, we feel like we need to do it all. We feel like we can do it all, and that is what makes us feel isolated sometimes and independent, which is great. Like, I love being an independent woman, but we crave those connections.
I think the misconception about being in our feminine is being submissive, and yes, receptive in a positive way, receptive in terms of listening and being relational. But there's a lot of misconception about being in our feminine, isn't there?
Imagine a woman who can be so good at shifting between her masculine and feminine energy that you go back into your feminine energy to recharge, to remember who you are, to remember your power, and then go back into your masculine energy to do things, to put things into action. Like, there's not such a thing. Like, I think that's the misconception. It's like, oh, being feminine is being sexy and gentle and nurturing. Yeah, those things are part of it. And those things are what make us moms such good connection with our mom or feminine energy, because we have it within us. But it's about learning how to use these energies to direct them in the direction that we want them, to nourish those energies, to nourish our life, and to make sure that we feel in alignment. So yes, a feminine energy is about feeling gentle and sexy, which I love doing that. I love doing things that make me feel like, I love being a woman and everything that intakes, but that doesn't mean that I'm not able to do all the other things that men do. It just means that we have more power within us. It's just something so special.
And it's a joy to be in our feminine, because we're present, we're relational, we're connecting with other like-minded women in our tribe, in our community. And that's what life's all about. We're designed as human beings to connect. Like, we're hardwired to connect with others, whether you're an introvert or an extrovert. We are made to connect. And it's nourishing to be in our feminine energy. It's good for us. It's nourishing and good for us. And that's why we need to embrace more of it. And you're right, it's not, I was talking about this with Yukko on another episode about the feminine archetype, and it's not about being in your masculine at work and then being in your feminine in the evening. It's delicately embracing both throughout the day.
Yeah, it's like a dance. You find the rhythm of it. You pick and choose from each one of this, both sides of your yin and your yang, and make it work in a way that is for you. Your feminine energy is not going to be the same as somebody else's feminine energy. There is a universal understanding of what it is, but when we understand what each of the characteristics and that each one of these sides possess, then we can use them, take from each, and use them to align to who we are.
So say a lady comes to you on a one-on-one session or in one of your workshops, and she's really out of sync with balancing the energies and being in her feminine self. How do you approach that to nourish her and to teach her how to balance both of those archetypes?
So I go through a process. So I spend my first one-to-one session is 2.5 hours, 3 hours, where we go through what I call a breathwork journey. And in this breathwork journey, we begin to, without talking too much, we just breathe. And the magical thing about breathwork is that when we practice conscious connected, which is what I teach in that session, is this type of breathing technique that can help us access our subconscious mind and enter into this altered state of mind where we can release things that we're holding in, not only in our minds, but in our bodies, because our bodies keep score of everything that happens, all the good and the bad things. There's a really good book called The Body Keeps the Score, brilliant book, and it's understanding how can we still not know that everything that happens in our lives, we hold it in, because when those situations happened, notice how if we're feeling angry or sad, we close our bodies, we tense our muscles, right? So that is your body taking in the information and storing it in. So we don't spend enough time releasing those emotions from the body. So we carrying them on like a carry-on luggage, right? And those things add on. And so that's when things begin to manifest. All of these accumulated emotions begin to stagnate in the body, and they manifest in ways like anxiety, depression, hormonal imbalance, stress, and burnout. So during this 2.5 hour session that I do, we go through that process of sort of like, you won't release it all in one session, but you do begin what I call the opening of the doors or windows to allow for those emotions to be released from tissues of your body. And after the session, we go into weekly sessions where we begin to talk about, I'm not a therapist. I always recommend, if you have deep wounds and if you're someone who experienced a lot of traumas, to work along with me and a therapist. So when you're working with me, we're not really doing much of talking. Yes, I do talk a lot, but it's more about exploration, discovering. We look at your patterns of thinking and behaving, and then we work with different breathing techniques that you can incorporate daily, along with other somatic practices like tapping, dancing, mindful movement, and yoga. Absolutely love. I also use herbal. I'm a herbalist as well, so I always try to incorporate. Plants have so much power, and it's also our connection with nature. So basically what I do in my coaching programs is an exploration. I always encourage my clients to approach these practices and everything that I do with an open mind, an open heart, and with curiosity, which is something you mentioned earlier. Always be curious and enjoying the journey. So yeah, there's a few things that go into my coaching program as well, but it's mostly about, who are you? Let's explore what makes you happy. What are the little things that makes your heart skip a beat? When you see, and so I'm always asking question. Being a good coach means that you're a good listener. You're not there to teach or, at school someone, but mostly to listen and to help them navigate to find their purpose in life. I found my purpose in life, which is helping women reconnect with their inner essence and find what unique gift and essence is, because I found it myself. And now I am sharing it with the world. So I want to help women do that, because when you connect with your inner essence, you connect with who you are, it guides you through life. And then these things that feel like miracles begin to happen, which happened to me when you become more in tune with your body and you begin to connect with your body's intuition. All of these opportunities and things begin to happen, which you wouldn't have noticed before if you weren't in tune.
If you love PSI Love Me and want to dive in deeper, then join the Evolve Woman, my 8-week online coaching program, which will take you on a transformative journey of self-discovery, fulfillment, and to find the joy and love you so deserve. Check out my Instagram, Lynda Williams Coach, to find out more. It's fascinating, isn't it? And it happened to me many years ago. And then you have to start making some pretty big decisions because you think, my life is not serving me up right now. My cup isn't full. I don't feel like I'm in my purpose. And when you start doing that inner work, you peel back the onion and you find out who you really are and what you're meant to do in this world. And quite often it's like, oh, wow.
If we said something that resonated with you, I always say, listen to that. That is your body speaking. How does your body speak to you? You felt it. You felt something in your gut. You felt something in your heart. You got goosebumps. That is your body guiding you to your highest purpose, guiding you to your next step. And I know it takes a lot of courage and it's really, really scary, but confidence is gained by doing, by taking action. Confidence is not something that you're born with. And like the first step that you take and the big decisions that you make to leave your job or start your own company or, leave in a relationship that no longer serves you, they all are really, really hard. But when you know in your heart that that's what you need to do, you got to act on it. You can't sit with that feeling because it will persist and persist and persist. I remember being in a relationship that didn't serve me towards the end. At the beginning it did. And then towards the end, I felt it. Every day I would wake up and there was something that was not quite there. I wasn't happy. And I chose to ignore it for a little while. And then I was just like, no, I need to explore what it is that I am feeling intuitively. And so when I did that and I had the courage to do that, to make that decision, things begin to happen in my life that I wouldn't be here if I didn't make that decision. I wouldn't be doing the work that I'm doing. So don't let your fear stop you. Don't let what other people think about you stop you from making those big decisions. We only have one life. And we got to make it our best. And we have to learn about being human. We have to learn about the power that we hold within us. And I always go back to that within us power. Talking about that energy. Your energy is your power.
Yeah, the power within, and we all have it. And it's harnessing that and tapping into it and not letting our head overpower our gut instinct and our hearts and what we truly desire. And I found many years ago, when you start doing your inner work and the self-awareness and everything that we've been talking about, and you try and push it back down, it will come up another way and teach you again and again and again and again until you've really learned the lesson where you're like, okay, I need to change now. And that could be from burnout, it could be from anxiety and depression, it could be all these things, but it will not go away until you have come to terms with that and start making the change.
We'll continue to show you ways to let you know that you're not where you're supposed to be. That if you're not feeling the way you're feeling right now, you will be happy, right? So if something within you is calling you gotta follow that call.
And I also think if you're not used to this, and I coach on this a lot as well, is if you're not used to tapping into somatic experience, that self-awareness, that gut feeling, start journaling, because then you can look back, and if you're making decisions from your gut, if you're not trusting your gut for various reasons, whether it's because of past trauma or you're just so disconnected with your body, start journaling. Then you can look back and see what came up following those decisions, see what's coming up, these different things of coming to making that big aha moment or that decision. Like, what are all those little things showing you around you in your body? How are they showing up? And there'll be a pattern, right?
Always. And it's really funny. I wouldn't say this normally, but using technology like ChatGPT or any other AI, you can actually enter, I am feeling this way. Give me some journaling prompts that can help me navigate through these feelings that I'm experiencing or emotions that are going through me right now. And it would give you some questions and then start journaling. Journaling is so powerful. I actually don't know. I have it in my notes here. I don't know why I didn't mention it before, because I have been journaling since I was a little girl, which back then was called a diary. And I remember my brothers used to go through my diaries and read, today I did this. But journaling is such a beautiful way of offloading, of letting go, and it's sort of like emptying your mind, because we become so, I don't know how we handle so much sometimes. We're thinking of one in a million things at once. So when you journal in the morning, which I find it is the most beneficial, but if you can't do it in the morning, that's fine. In the mornings to journaling, like it's like your mind is already a little bit more at ease when you wake up. You don't have a million things. So you have more clarity and you're able to answer those difficult questions with more intention.
Yeah. And apparently our serotonin and dopamine levels are highest when we wake up as well. So harnessing those positive hormones. And also when we journal, and I'm talking about pen to paper, not typing it out on an iPhone, it's a subconscious is actually connecting with what's on the paper. And it doesn't have to be perfect, but it's just unscrambling everything that's going on and whirling up there. And if you compare it to doing this in a work situation, if you're super busy, it's Monday morning at work, you're feeling utterly stressed. And when you get pen to paper or your iPads and start mapping out the week, how much calmer do you feel? And it's the same when we journal as well, making sense of our feelings and our emotions and how are we feeling today. It's like, okay, that makes sense. That's okay to feel like that. How can we process that? How can we move throughout our day with more curiosity and kindness with ourselves?
And then you add on top breath work. When you either do it before or you do it, you can also do your breathing. Like we said before, you can do it anytime. But while you're writing, you can also pay attention to the way that you breathe. Elongate your exhales, elongate your inhales. So when you are journaling, or if you do the breath work before journaling, just that's how you start to connect with your body. That's how you begin to create that intimate connection of mind and body. Breathwork is that bridge that connects your mind with your body.
We were both having a few deep breaths before we started this because we're both afraid of a good old tech. You know, I was joking with my girlfriends the other day because I've been journaling for years as well. And I was like, so if anything ever happens to me, you need to come and burn all my journals.
Oh my God, yes. I have all mine underneath my bed, and like I think my fiance knows exactly where they are, but he never doesn't really care about that stuff. But yeah, please come and burn them. What's really interesting about journaling is that the other day I picked up one of my really old, maybe it was 2020, which was a difficult year for a lot of people. I opened my journal and I started reading just a random page, and wow, what I was reading, the person that I was then to the person that I am now, it has been such a beautiful transformation. And I think that is a very important part of your healing journey, is to not always looking forward and trying to improve and be better. That's great. But just notice all the work that you've done. Like look back and acknowledge all your wins. They don't have to be massive and incredible things, but small things like you started working out once a week. You started journaling once a week or twice a week. Just notice all the small changes that you've created. So that's why journaling, sometimes going back to journals and reading that, it actually made me emotional because I was like, wow, I did that.
100%. And yeah, we look back and like how we've evolved as a human being as well, because we're always evolving and learning about ourselves and that person we were and how we were showing up in the capacities and resources that we had as well, and the things that we were wanting as well. And so I used a journal for many reasons. Yes, I scribbled down how I'm feeling and all the rest of it. I also do the gratitude work. I find that really great. And I also manifest like things that I really want in life. And I realized looking back at my old journals, everything I manifested, I got. And being intentional about what you want in life. And it wasn't materialistic things. It was, you know, the people around me and what I wanted my business to do. And I remember specifically when I left my ex-husband, I was in Singapore and I just set up my PR agency. So things were pretty stressful on all levels, emotionally, mentally. I was one woman show. I had an assistant until my agency took off, but it was stressful. I went back into co-living, a flat share, like a student again. And I remember writing down the gratitude every day, like, oh, I'm actually really lucky that I can still afford to eat nutritious food. I can still afford to go to the gym and exercise. I can look after myself and my body. And these are the things that I would like moving forward. The kind of clients that I wanted to represent, the kind of team I wanted. And it all came true in the end. But I think when you're really intentional and focused about what will serve your soul as well as what you really want in life, and that's what athletes do, right? There's the science that proves that athletes, they don't just train to win the race, but they actually visualize it and they manifest it. So they manifest them winning and they visualize themselves winning. And the brain apparently, it tricks the brain into thinking that's actually happening.
Yeah, because your subconscious mind doesn't know the difference between reality and not reality. So you can say, I am the queen of whatever right now, or whatever you want to manifest, and it won't know the difference. So going back to journaling, when you're journaling, like writing in present tense, like if you're saying, I want to be this, and I'll say, I am this, because then again, your subconscious mind has no filter, doesn't know the difference, whether it's real or not. And that is the same way. So when you're saying something negative about yourself, it doesn't know. So it stores it. I'm not good at this. I'm not good at that. So you're going to continue to store that. Visualization is so, so powerful. Manifesting, I think this word has been thrown around so carelessly recently. My niece has actually started talking about manifestation. I want to manifest a car. I want to manifest it. And I think that we are misunderstanding the point of manifestation and being able to visualize things. When you visualize something that you desire, your dreams, you have to match it with an elevated emotion. And this is something that I learned from Dr. Joe Dispenza, that you have to match what you desired with your actions and with your emotions. Like you were saying, like you begin to see in your mind's eyes what you want to manifest, but from a point of view that it's not just materialistic. Yes, you can desire having a big house, having a great car and all of that, but why? Why do you want that? Do you think that's going to make you happy? So we always have to be intentional about the things that we desired. So I actually sometimes surprise myself of how I'm able to manifest things. And I do this every Monday. When I do my breathwork practice, I do a visualization of my week. I like to keep it simple and short, just that week. What I'm doing towards the end of my breathwork practice, I begin to visualize my week ahead. So what projects do I have? What do I need to do? What do I need to get done? And I see myself accomplishing all these things. I see myself, and the importance of visualization is that you are very detailed. Like you have to visualize everyone and everything in it. So whether there's going to be, I'm sure that you did this when you were trying to manifest you said the people that you wanted to work with. You knew exactly who you wanted to work with. You don't just say, I want to work with high achievers, female entrepreneurs. You said the names of the people that you want to work with, right? So being specific. And the reason why is because you are that woman and you want to connect with these women. So on Mondays when I do my manifestation, it's honestly, I surprise myself sometimes. It just works so well. If I have an event, if I have a presentation, if I'm doing something, like even just doing this podcast this morning, I visualized myself just having a great conversation with you, getting this beautiful podcast and conversation working perfectly and really nice. So yeah, it's about every Monday is my little suggestion. Start with just a small visualization of how you want to see your week evolve, how you want to feel at the end of the week, and embody those feelings now. So you want to be satisfied, you want to feel happy, you want to feel all of those incredible things that you're going to do when you accomplish these things. You feel them in this moment.
And the same can be applied to our future partner. What do we want in a relationship? And is that how you manifested your fiance?
So not crazy, but crazy. So after my breakup, I was like, okay, this wasn't serving me anymore. That doesn't mean he wasn't a good person. He just wasn't for me. And I decided to write down a list of the things that I wanted in my future partner. Everything, no limitations. I want you to sit down if you are currently single and you're really looking for that person to spend your life with. I think it all starts with the work that you need to do first. but then write down, okay, be specific. Where did you want this person to live? What do you want them to look like? What do you want them to like? Values, interests, everything. So I made a super long list of everything that I wanted in a man, and I just had it in the back of my head all the time. And in my meditations, I would read the list, not all the time, but it was always there with me. And then you just leave it up to the universe. And then I started doing things, because you can't just write down a list and sit down on your couch and wait for your ideal man or woman to show up. You can't do that. You have to put yourself in places and situations where you believe this person's going to be. So like, I love doing yoga. And so I wanted to find someone who enjoyed doing yoga with me. So I would go to yoga classes, and he wasn't there, but I'm just saying that's where, that's put yourself where you want this person. So you like running, go to a running club, See, but go with the expectation of just doing something that you like, not for the purpose of just finding someone. So when you put those intentions out there, when you know what you desire, the universe attracts it. You become magnetic. You become such a magnet that everything begins to attract to you. And when the right person comes along, you will know right away. You feel it in your heart. And I always tell this to my friends who, struggle with putting up with men who are not doing enough, who are not, treating them like they deserve. Just remember that you can tell how much a woman loves herself by the person they choose to be with. You can tell how much a woman or a person loves themselves by the person they choose to be with. What that means is that, the person you're with reflects how much you love yourself. So if you're going to put up with someone who doesn't treat you with kindness, with respect, and honors you how you are, then that doesn't work for you. Move on. Next. Like, it doesn't work. You can't force anything.
Yeah, no, I live and breathe by this in my Evolve Woman program. That's exactly what I do, is start from the ground and work up. Let's look about how are you with yourself, the self-love, the self-respect, the self-care, the imposter syndrome, the confidence, all of those areas, and coming to terms with who we are today. And how do we evolve all those areas? How do we do things that nourishes and fill our cup to get us in that best possible place to attract the man that we deserve?
The work starts right here, because we also are trying to demand and trying to attract someone that is the perfect fit for us. But are you the perfect fit or the ideal fit for that person? Because that person might come along, but you may not have worked through all of those things that you need to heal and to work on. You need to be absolutely healed all your traumas, and then you need to be completely perfect. But when that person comes along, then you'll be able to work through both of your challenges and help each other grow and support each other in every aspect.
Yeah, with that openness and vulnerability and care.
There's always someone has to be a little bit more mature in the relationship. There's always that one person that's always like the more forgiving, and I always say, okay, that's good. It's a good balance,
And how did you meet your fiance? Was it on an app or?
Yes. So it was on an app, and I just had this feeling so I used to be a flight. So after I left my corporate job, I became a flight attendant because I was really young and I wanted to travel the world. And through this is something that I also did because my intuition was like, you're so young, go and travel and do things to find yourself. So I did. And so I had so much fun doing this job. And in one of my layovers in London, I downloaded the Bumble app, and but listen, before I went into the app, I had this list. And before I went into the app, I had an intention. My intention was to have fun, but also to find this person along the way, and to have my values and these things that are so important to me in the front of everything, right? So whenever I started talking to a person that wasn't aligning with my values, I didn't waste my time. But I also didn't discard like a lot of people now kind of do, just, you just go left, right, and don't give an opportunity. So before I went in and had an intention, and when I saw his picture, I had this, I don't know, I felt it in my gut. I saw his beautiful blue eyes, and I was just like, And we started talking, and within the 2 weeks, I was here visiting again on a layover, actually. And we started dating long distance for a year. And it is true what they say, when you know, you know. And I know it's super cliche, but the thing is, like, you don't know right away, but you get to know the person and you begin to notice how they make you feel. And for me, the most important thing, that I felt safe, I felt respected, and so loved. So loved. And that, there was no more excuses. How men now, sorry, I didn't have time to reply to you. I was really busy. Sorry, I didn't have time to make a date for us. Sorry, I know we're all busy, but we're all on our phones, right? So when you have the time, this Robert is his name. He will message, he's a very busy man, but he will message me in the morning to say, good morning, I have a long day, but I will call you at this time. And he will call me. He follows through what he was saying. And that's exactly what I wanted. Someone that can reassure me, not because I needed it, but because it's important communication.
Because it's showing up. Actions speak louder than words in terms of who you are. And at the beginning stages of dating, we are looking for those proof points. We don't just go on what they say they are on their dating profile. It's like, are you loyal, reliable? Are you kind? How are you showing up as a kind person? How do you love? How are you showing up and loving me? All these proof points that we're looking for in those first few weeks and months to kind of weigh up, is this person right for me?
Yeah. And again, once you are so in tune with your body's intuition and the language of your body, when you show up to a date and you begin to speak with this person, then there's a beautiful synergy that happens, or maybe it doesn't happen, but don't force it. Nothing that is meant to happen is force. It doesn't work that way. Just let the experience flow naturally. Work with the beautiful, natural flow of things. If he's not messaging or she's not messaging you back and she's not respecting your time, don't bother. Don't waste your time. I always say, don't take crumbs. Don't take crumbs. You deserve the whole cake. As a woman, when you learn to love yourself so much, when a man comes into your life or a person comes into your life and gives you the bare minimum, you won't take it because you know your worth. And I know that takes time, but if you want to attract and to be magnetic, that ideal partner, the work starts here first. To facing all of those uncomfortable things and the things that triggers us. I'm going to be honest with myself. I used to be a very jealous person, and jealousy is a poison that we take in and hope for the other person to die. It's a horrible feeling. And when I met my partner and I was faced with this, I think it was maybe first two occasions, he was really good at communicating, but I was really good at communicating that I felt this way. This is something that I've been dealing with. And communication is so important, because why are you going to hold back and you're not going to tell the person, oh, I'm feeling this way. He's going to think that I'm weak or I'm that. Just open your heart and communicate exactly how you feel. And if he can't take it, then he's not perfect. He's not meant to be for you.
It's the hallmark of a healthy relationship is communication, because we can't mind read. We assume, and that's when everything goes downhill, is when we're assuming how that other person is acting and feeling, and quite often it's the opposite. So communicating in a healthy, gentle way, how things are coming across, how you're feeling.
Approach them with love, kindness, and respect. There's no way that the other person is going to react. It's all about how the way that a message is communicated, right? Like if you come in with with like, what did you do? This is that, and always putting the blame on another person, that conversation is not going to go very well. So I always recommend to sit with the feelings, close your eyes, regulate your nervous system through calming your breath down, long exhales, and then notice where that energy's gone. Because you have two options. And that's something that I learned, that the option is you let this energy take you with you, the energy of anger, of jealousy, of doubt, of fear, or you can stay behind the energy and watch it leave. And the way that you stay behind that energy is by, once again, tuning into what you're feeling. Notice the way that your body is reacting, because your body always gives you feedback.
I agree, because we aren't our behaviors and feelings. We aren't an angry person. We're not a jealous person. It's a behavior and feeling that comes and goes. And it's, as we were saying earlier, it's taking it, looking at it and processing it and letting it fly off.
Yeah. We are creatures of habits, and technically our personalities are created by just repetition. Like by the time we are in our 20s, we are just a set of memorized behaviors. And so who we think we are is just a result of our environments, of the things that we have done or we've been through. So we can, just the same way we can train ourselves to break those patterns of behaviors and thinking. And the way that you do that is by recognizing all of those patterns and being the observer. Self-awareness is so key in personal healing and transformation, because when you are aware of everything that you do, think, and feel, you can make changes. Because the problem is when you're not aware of those things, when you're not aware of what you're doing. So if you are in a process of wanting to change your life, wanting to make a drastic change, the first thing is to acknowledge and to be aware. And if you're aware, that's the first step, which is the hardest, to recognize where you are doing the wrong thing and where you need improvement.
It's been such a beautiful chat today. Everything from breath work to curiosity to self-awareness and to understanding ourselves better, the different energies that we can embrace and why. Just to round up this session, what 3 things would you like to share with our audience to help them feel really connected and energized and evolve?
The first thing is to track your cycle and honor your natural rhythms. Track your cycles, please. Understand every single phase of your cycle. You will thank me later. Because when you do, you understand your hormones. And when you understand your hormones, you understand why you're behaving the way that you're behaving. You understand that when you're entering your luteal cycle, you are a little bit crazy, and that's normal. I'm just kidding. Our emotions go up and down, but yeah, that would be my first thing, will be to track your cycle and honor your natural rhythms, to take 5 deep breaths before switching to any task. Okay. So if you're doing something, sometimes we're so glued to the work that we're doing that whole hours pass by and you haven't even taken a deep breath. So take 5 deep breaths, and maybe if you can incorporate some sigh of relief like this. And just let it all go before you move on to the next task. And the final is to prioritize pleasure and joy. Be a kid again. Enjoy the little things in life. What makes you happy? What used to be the things that made your heart so happy? Go back to those little things. I recently rediscovered, I think it was 2 years ago, that I love skateboarding. And the child within me wants to go out and play. And also I learned how to surf when I was, a couple of years ago. So don't forget to find pleasure and joy in life. And remember that your feminine energy is so powerful, and learning to tap into it can truly transform your life.
Amazing. Some beautiful takeaway for our listeners today. Thank you so much for joining us, Steph. You've been incredible. I'm already breathing more deeper with our hour of conversation.
I feel like we should take a deep breath together. Let's close this beautiful conversation with just closing the eyes for a moment. Dropping into the body. And very slowly begin to breathe in through the nose, expanding the belly. And then open your mouth side out. That's it.
And we're ready for the rest of the day. I love it. Thank you, my dear. I'm looking forward to speaking to you again soon, and all the best for the rest of the week.
That
that's it for today's episode of PSI Love Me. I hope you've learned some interesting nuggets to weave into your everyday life to feel a little lighter, brighter, and inspired. If you loved today's episode, be sure to subscribe, rate, and leave a review. It helps more high-achieving women like yourselves to find us. And don't forget to follow us on Instagram, Lynda Williams Coach, for more daily inspiration and updates.